Hello and welcome to the second episode in the now famous Church of England E-Worship Awards. Hooray! Our weekly poke a little bit of gentle fun at the amazing efforts that people across the Church of England have been putting into connecting with congregations and people who've never heard of church or Jesus or anything else. And we do that every week with our guests, Father Sam McNally-Cross and Father David Harris. And this week, our special guest, we thought it was time that we went all top gear and had a celebrity with us every single week. And so please welcome Father Fergus Butter-Gallie, international author of a book. And so this week we start, as we did last week, with the best chapel. We've been looking for the people who've put the most effort in to find the best chapel, and this week's is a beauty. Father Sam, why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, so slightly different to last week, where we had the resplendent beauty of Father Peter Anthony's home chapel. This week we have something a little bit more mobile.
So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this service of Holy Communion. Today is I've got a dog problem going on outside the caravan here. I should let her in the house, but she'll go mad and then I'll get into trouble. So she's just going to have to stay out in the garden for now. And she has just eaten the communion bread that I got a few minutes ago, so things aren't going entirely good.
Here.
I love this man. I think he's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, so this is
don't have verges. This is what happens.
Pardon, Fergus?
When clergy are let out without church wardens or verges, this is clearly what happens. You know, those big sticks clearly mean something. Dogs, sequestered to caravans. Amazing stuff.
So this is the amazing Reverend Carl Edwards. He often appears with his dog Hilda, we're told. And this was filmed on Passion Sunday when dog Hilda tried to eat the communion bread. Well, we've all been there, haven't we?
No. No, I've actually never been to that point where a dog is eating the communion bread, but maybe you guys have.
Father Sam, you must have that issue with Marshall.
He wasn't here just a second ago, but I think Francis has scared him off, so that's all right.
He's just nipped behind Francis. He's hidden behind him like the Franciscans.
But yes, no, I like this chapel. It's just a really there's something really really beautiful about the simplicity of it, and also that I can imagine the conversation he had at home with his wife. You are not setting up a chapel in the house. You can go and use the caravan outside. So just imagine being sort of shifted outside to the caravan. But I think there's just something really really kind of homely about it, which is lovely.
I mean, I'm a big fan of caravans, and I've got a caravan, and if I had one on the driveway, I would certainly be in there having a little holiday. And I think watching that clip, my main thing was trying to work out which kind of caravan it is.
Model.
I mean, which is it? It looks like a Bailey of some sort. It's high quality. The wood is really good. I like the finish. The camera angle is brilliant. Let me just bring it back up because this is definitely worth pulling apart. Look at the camera angle. We've got beautiful height. We can see whatever it is that's hanging down from the roof here.
What is that hanging down?
I'm choosing to say it is there to hold the reserved sacrament.
To Pix, yes.
After Hilda has thrown it up.
Or if people are still paying for the sanctuary lamps, you don't want to disappoint them, although it might slightly bridge fire regulations. I like the sort of stuccoed effect on the ceiling as well. You could have a lovely sort of, apotheosis painted on the top of that if he wants to go to the next level, an ascension scene or something.
I love him. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and we've had lots of conversations about the fact that not everybody has room in their house to set up a home chapel, and not everybody has the accoutrements to do it. And so I just think this is brilliant. Put it in the caravan. and take it on the road. And so our next award this week is for Best Online Religion. And lots of people shared links with us this week. We have seen so much this week, but there can be only one winner. And it is this gentleman. No, he's not a hobbit. It is Dr. Francis Young, and he offers us this.
Directissimi fratre, sacra scriptura, multis in locis nos commune facit, ut multiplicia peccata nostra et iniquitatem nostra maniosciamus et confiteamo. Nec ea in conspecto Dei omnipotentis Patris noster celestis adeamus dissimulare.
So tell us, Father David, what was he saying there?
That's a really good question. This is something that most people don't know, and that there was when the Book of Common Prayer came out, it wasn't just an English version. There was actually an official Latin version of the Book of Common Prayer, and most people don't know that.
Fergus, you must have known that. You're the most.
I'm afraid tragic individual that I am. Indeed, where places where Latin was considered to be the spoken language.
Northumbria, Carlisle?
Yeah, well, indeed, all those little pockets where it had hung on, where people didn't know that the Romans had left. Like the diocese of,
It was actually colleges in Oxford and Cambridge were allowed to use the Latin Rite.
And some of the places like Winchester, Windsor, and places like that as well. I thought it was great. It was like those people who have those who suffer kind of blunt force trauma and then think they've woken up in a kind of different century or something. It was a little bit like that. It was amazing, but I mean, like members of the Church of England. It was like one of those it was like I had woken up with the sole exception of the light switch, because all the other accoutrements sort of had that slight, just early days of the Reformation sort of feel to it. I thought it was glorious. Yes, got some sort of Gothic at the back. It's great.
Haec est gratia. Si propter Dei conscientiam sustinet
his
quid
Latin
Christitias,
is amazing.
patiens in juste.
I'm slightly concerned about the throne immediately behind him.
Oh, well, I was just thinking there are bishops now up and down the country looking at that with envy and thinking, when I go to parish churches, I get sat on a plastic chair they've whipped out of the Sunday school. But that's really brilliant.
It's a proper chair.
And the hanging as well. It's a glorious scene. It's sort of, like I say, it's like you've woken up in 1560. It's great.
But what is the hanging covering? That's what concerns me. And what is it's just, I'm slightly concerned about what it's covering.
Well, I don't know, but surely all sort of altar coverings are designed to cover the last piece of liturgical art that was commissioned. That's their sole purpose, isn't it? It's just a constant, to avoid fitting things, you just cover them over with yet more fabric until you become a fire risk.
It's definitely not in front of a door, because I can see at the bottom there's still a full skirting board, so it's definitely in front of a bit of wall. But there's no door frame there or anything like that.
It's great.
I'm also why is he not sitting in that really nice chair in front of that hanging?
Because he's not the bishop.
The bishop's coming to do it next week. There are hundreds. All the bishops of the Church of England in their private chapels are saying prayer book Latin, offices, as I'm sure we know. As anyone who's been on a retreat will know, that is the episcopacy's preferred liturgy. So I'm sure he's just got a queue of them, socially distanced, like those photos we see of people outside Lidl. It's like that, but the bishop of the Church of England outside his house, waiting to go in with their big bags, their bags for life.
Are you suggesting that we simply mistimed it, and had he recorded it earlier in the day, the Archbishop of Canterbury would have been sat there?
Oh, I think so.
I did. Talking of waking up in a different century, I did immediately look at this video and think, blimey, Malcolm Guite's doing quite well in isolation, isn't he?
Oh, glorious. And Francis actually lives. I've met him a couple of times through sort of things when I was in Cambridge, and I know he's sort of in the immediate vicinity, but I've never seen them in the same room. So,
So there we go, best online religion. And I adore the fact that we have spent pretty much the entire time talking about the best online religion, not about BCP, not about Matins, not about the fact it's Latin or anything else, but about the way that he set up the shot.
Well, it is the Online Worship Awards, isn't it? So some detail has to be noted.
And for the record, I actually talked about content, unlike the rest of you guys.
It's what you're here for, Father. It's what
Bringing
you're here for.
gravitas to it all.
Well, if it's content we want, and if it's depth we want, then our next award is definitely the winner. We've lost Father David. Aha! Are you back?
I got a phone call.
That never happens. Because you're curate for 3 years and no one ever phoned you. They always phoned me.
Okay.
The amount of times people phoned me and went, "Oh, I'm just phoning you, Father, because Father Harris won't answer."
This is definitely going in the video. Okay. Well, if it's content we're after and it's depth we're after, then I think our next winner definitely takes home the prize.
He's higher than the skyscraper, and he's deeper than the submarine. He's wider than the universe, and beyond my wildest dreams. And he's not.
Look, I've got two things to say about this. The first is, I think this is amazing. There is not a single person in this video who doesn't look like they want to be doing this. There's none of that usual, oh, do I really have to do the actions? Look, everybody's into it.
It's glorious.
For the record, I thought we agreed we were not going to include this. I don't like adults doing hand signals, like, signs and stuff. I think it's demeaning to them.
Demeaning to the adult or to the people watching?
Possibly both, and to the angels. Fergus, you going to back me up here, man?
I'll take a more sort of Anglican. I mean, one of my favourite instances as a curate has been watching my training incumbent have to do the actions to that in front of an entire deanery, which was pretty glorious, cruel and unusual punishment, I suppose. But they're all loving it. I think they're all into it. It's clearly working. Although the time lag means that there's something. I think there's a theological point to be made about omnipresence. The fact that the time lag means that in some places God is big like that, and some places he's sort of big like that. So there's something I think we can draw a theological point out of it. Sorry, I haven't backed you up there at all.
No, I love the fact that in the last bit that was really about BCP, Latin, Matins, we completely didn't do any theology, and we get to this, and this is where we're doing the theology.
I think, frankly, it's safe to say that if you're in a room where the worship leader is asking you to sort of make bodily signs and stuff, get out. Like you're in the wrong place.
Except genuflecting and sign of the cross, though, Father.
Oh yeah, because we've inherited those from history. You're not told to do them. Am I alone here? Okay, I'm the grumpy old man.
Clearly you're on your own.
I just think it's a really joyful expression of clearly what their community is like, and they're really going for it. And I think particularly on the Sundays when we can't be together, then something like this just to bring a bit of light relief into an otherwise.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. I really do. And I absolutely love the enthusiasm. I love the fact that they all want to be there. And I love the fact, look at him. He's really getting into it. I don't know who he is, but I love him. I think he's fantastic. And they're communicating passion and joy and love for the gospel. For best, most engaging content this week.
So yeah, our award this week for engaging online worship is from Pip and Jim's in Leckhampton in Cheltenham.
Marvellous. Okay, well, let's move on. Our next award is for... Well, I want to name this one. Do I really have to watch it again? But Father Sam, you've insisted, so it's in.
I think this one, this sort of began the whole, looking at each other's online worship. And we've probably everyone has seen this one. It's had some quite good national press, but it is what really began it all.
It is the most Anglican one ever.
And then, of course, to wait for an answer. I've just been pausing between these. Oh dear! I've just caught fire.
I think it never gets old. I think that is proper physical comedy.
I just love that it is the most vicar reaction to being set on fire. That's not a Reformation response. That was a oh dear.
I appear to be on fire, Master Ridley.
Yes.
As of course
I mean, Father David, you must approve of that. There were no unauthorized flapping around. There was no over-enthusiastic waving of arms, even though the man was on fire.
I totally approve of that, man. Reaction.
So he's our honourable mention for this week. And then finally, it's our caution. And this is why we have a celebrity guest every week. I'm building it up now by saying celebrity guest, aren't I? Who have we got next week?
Celebrity where?
It doesn't matter. We make them celebrities.
you are the fame makers. I made you! Harris screams as he's dragged away by an archdeacon.
You don't just get 500 views on YouTube for nothing.
And so that brings us to our final award. This is our weekly caution, the Sheen Caution. This is where we ask our guest to suggest something that perhaps could be done better. And you'll see that we very cleverly avoided having to do this ourselves. It was Father David's idea. Father David, explain to us why you felt that the guest should do this rather than us.
Well, because we don't want to take the fire, right? We're Anglicans. We don't mind if, Fergus, he can take the fire. He's going to disappear and write another book.
So Fergus, you're with us. We've asked you to look at the breadth of the Church of England and all of its digital content this week, the wonderful collection of amazing stuff that we've seen. Surely you have failed to find anything where you would issue a caution.
So the Sheen Award, which I don't know whether it's Mr. Sheen or Fulton Sheen. I wasn't quite sure whether you were going with the whole sort of bleach injection theme was something you were going with, or whether you're going with the kind of sort of dead Roman Catholic bishops. But either way, this award that I've been asked to give, I thought I would give to the Archbishop of Canterbury for a very specific reason. Books. We've been thinking about books this week. Michael Gove has got dodgy books on his bookshelf. I wonder what the Church of England equivalent of having, the kind of Hitler diaries or whatever it was he had. Probably my book, actually. That's probably the Church of England equivalent of having something undesirable. But I know that mine is.
Sorry, can I interrupt you? Do you have a book out?
I do. It's if you go to a downstairs loo, it'll be there. I promise you. It was written on the sole purpose of knowing that Church of England vicarages invariably have a downstairs loo, and they're looking to put things in there that aren't just, I don't know, the Hitler.
And every vicar got at least one copy for Christmas.
Precisely, and I hope I'm being cursed as a direct result of that. A wise priest once told me that the point of being in the Church of England is to piss people off. So I think that I've done that through my book and the constant gifting of it, if nothing else. But talking of books, lots of, and I'm not meaning to pick on Father Sam, who I can see has his books arrayed in all their glory behind the Bishop of Rome and some bottles. Clergy, I've noticed that there's been a slight tendency perhaps to arrange books, and I don't mean to cast aspersions, but I certainly haven't read all the books on my bookshelf. As you can see, I just exist in some kind of white blank cube. That's where the bishop keeps me, and then I'm sort of rolled out for charity dinners and Rotary clubs and Holy Communion every so often. But I think there's sort of a slight selective interior design going on. You know, if you've got all of Aquinas lined up immaculately behind you, it's probably, I would suggest, not what you're reading on a day-to-day basis. But you have avoided, I suppose, the Michael Gove sort of Hitler issue. But I was interested. I thought the Archbishop of Canterbury backed out of it by what he chose to. So if he had, as I do on most of my bookcases, the complete Viz annual behind him, it would have made, you know, headline news. But unless he sort of reads tea leaves, which is perfectly possible, I suppose, it could be a fresh expression, I don't know. I don't think he's reading the amazing sort of bird-themed dinner service that he's got sort of lurking behind him. So I wonder whether perhaps, you know, a degree of creativity with the background might be what one does, because I know you can put anything behind you. I've been doing most of my Zoom calls with a load of Romney Marsh sheep behind me after a Sunday school incident. So yes, I think for him the slight, I think he could have scandalized us with a couple of, you know, leafed copies of Nuts or FHM or one of those sort of, you know, gentlemen's magazines, or perhaps, I don't know, a book by someone particularly controversial. I don't know. I felt he disappointed us
because of the bird calendar.
And the bird calendar. So he also went with this bird calendar, which, yeah, interesting. A calendar, you know, I would have thought, presumably he gets sent lots of calendars. You know, the Prayer Book Society is sending him, you know, hundreds of, you know, calendars. Each one has a different picture of Prudence Daily on each month, or holding a different prayer book. I don't know, something like that. But alas, he went with the RSPB, which again I think was cowardly. I think that was cowardly. I think he could have gone with a series of perhaps artistically designed church pressure group calendars instead of going for the RSPB, frankly.
So the Fulton caution this week is to check your backgrounds before you stream from your homes or your
Father, on that point, you seem, I mean, I'm just sidestepping the rather obviously large. I just want to sidestep Pope Francis over your shoulder. I noticed that every week he's coming closer, but anyway, we'll talk about that again. I really want to look at your shelves, because it's not so much books I can see as bottles of wine.
Yes, that's the communion wine for church.
Of course it is, Father.
Yes, officer.
Is this what you taught your curate, Father David?
No comment.
Well, Father David, I've been watching in your background. You seem to have some people burgling you behind you. There seem to be people just removing things from part of your house. I don't know if it's a selection of your children just selling your possessions.
Yeah, it's chaos around here. It's anarchy. You know what I found really interesting watching a few random online services was when there are no props put in place, what the bookcases behind priests are. And there were several that I noticed, they actually have no books. They just have files. And that's so sad, right?
Yeah.
Like that's sort of modern, maybe sad side of Church of England. It was just a bookcase full of file boxes.
Endless faculty forms.
Yeah. Oh.
Which make riveting reading, I'm sure, but
it was sad.
Well, on that note, let's say hello to Marsh, who is Father Sam's background.
Oh.
If this doesn't make us worth watching, nothing will. Father Sam, I also want to point out that Pope Francis appears to be wearing the scapular I bought you.
Yes, I forgot to put it on this morning.
I'm not taking it personally. Well, that's it, folks. That is the Church of England eWorship Awards for this week. Continue to send them in, and we will continue to gently take the mickey and try and find the lighter side of this horrendous lockdown, which will come to an end, if not in this life, then definitely in the next. Good night. God bless. Bye now.